So with the summer event coming to a close and everyone who had spent their time grinding for the event finally enjoying the vehicles they had worked so hard for, either in the form of a coupon or by redeeming them and using them in game, although at the moment using them in said game is probably not the best idea, as everyone and their grandmother is currently trying to spade the vehicle. And trust me when I say the 10.0 area of games are incredibly frustrating to play at the moment, to which, if you didn't know, is a normal thing after such events. But welcome back to yet another talking head video, but this time we're doing something a little bit different. I actually have a script this time. Yeah, I'm trying to keep things just a little bit more organized. I actually wrote that part down, but not this one. And I feel like, I think it's about time we go just a little bit more professional. So with that being said, let's begin. So now that the actual event is nearing its end, I've had the privilege to play with these vehicles shortly before they went public, allowing me to have a slightly different experience in what some would say to be a more controlled environment. But with that being said, it also allowed me to develop some more straightforward opinions on how these vehicles would perform without such spam that is currently happening at the moment. And with so many asking me in the comment sections as well as during my live streams on what I think about said vehicles, I figured I would share said opinions on every vehicle minus the original tier 1 reward. But still, given a few weeks time, and with many players either having finished the spading process or have outright given up because they have no idea how the higher tiers play, the games should return to a somewhat normal state, much like how it was during my own original experience prior to their public release. But before we begin, as always, anything and everything I say in this video is based off my own experiences in-game. I understand that I'm not the best, nor am I even that good in some areas that I will be talking about, such as aviation and naval. And yes, I will be talking about the vessel because, oddly enough, I've been enjoying the big boats gameplay. And no, I will not be referencing any real-world stats or views of said vehicles simply because this is not the channel for it yet. So with that out of the way, here are my thoughts and opinions on the event and the vehicles. For starters, I like the Stars event. They're simple and they only require you to dedicate a set amount of time to unlock, but that can also depend on your level of skill. And with most players only going for a single set of vehicles, such as tankers going only for the Patria, aviation players only going for the Su25, and so on, the grind is not as tedious unless you're someone who is going for all three. Then you have my respect, because that requires a lot of time and a very good set of skills. And even as a full-time CC like myself, I'll be honest, I couldn't be bothered with said extensive grind, and yes, I did use GE for both the plane and the vessel. Sorry. And that's the true forgiving part about these events. If you happen to not have time, say you're dealing with life outside of War Thunder, you have the ability to own all of these vehicles simply by using Golden Eagles. Although, if you've been through these events before, it might be more economical to outright buy the coupon from the marketplace, to which we will get to a little bit later in the video. And I'm sure some of you guys might disagree with the grind, but hey, it used to be not only a lot worse, but far more tedious. So I'll take this new method by unlocking them with the current method of, well, the stars. I kind of went off script for that one, so oops. But let's talk about the Patria, the Finnish light tank that resides in the Swedish tech tree. If you'd like to have more specifics, you're welcome to watch my previous video that showcases its overall performance. But in short, this is a 10.0 wheeled vehicle, one of the first for the Swedish high tier lineup. Good thermals, awesome firepower, and some pretty decent mobility. I say decent because wheeled vehicles can be very tricky to play, but when it comes to practicality, it definitely has its perks. The reload rate is terrific, and it has saved my butt in many situations, but wheeled light tanks in War Thunder is a very tricky subject. They rely on a fairly balanced playstyle that requires you to understand proper positioning early on in game. And if you get noticed by anyone while using this thing, you better be a faster shot, because anything that comes your way is most certainly going to send you back to the hangar. But this is a solid vehicle that fits very well in my 10.0 lineup, and it has a very good place in every area in the game, meaning that it can work as a starter, early, mid, or even a late game spawn, either playing aggressively or tactically, though ideally you want to be smart and play this thing very cautiously, flank your opponents, etc. But it is most certainly worth a keep, at least in my opinion. Now let's talk about the Su25. I have had a very rough experience with this aircraft at battle rating 11.3, not because this is a terrible vehicle, but simply because it sits in a very unusual area in the game. You're not fast enough to evade SAM systems that you will absolutely run into, and any defending aircraft that spots you will most certainly not only outrun you, but also outperform the majority of whatever your aircraft's advantages might be. But then again, dogfighting really isn't my area of expertise, so I can't really make a comment on how well it can dogfight. But I've done it, and I have come out on top at times thanks to that decently performing R73. But I can't go too far into detail about its flight performance because that's just not my area. But as for ground pounding, that is where I can give you my 2 cents. It's decent. The TV guided missiles are brilliant and are usually always a one-shot on anything. I'm not even kidding. Leopards, SPAA, etc. though I usually reserve those missiles for SPAA players. But when it comes to the laser-guided munitions, however, such as the KH-25ML, those are very tricky to use. And that is simply because the camera found on the Su25, it's not great. Not at all. It's pretty much the same one found on the A10, the A5E, etc. You know, that very basic sight? Yeah, it's pretty much that one. It's difficult to use, and it's terribly inefficient as it requires you to maintain a near straight flight path for the missile to maintain lock. Unlike the Su25T or the 39 with its targeting pod that allows you to have so much more range of view and motion. So overall, it's a solid ground pounder, but if you already have the Su25T or the Su39, I wouldn't recommend that you replace either of them with this. Even with its R73, it just doesn't justify its existence in ground RB. And lastly, we have the vessel, or as I like to call it, the big boat. I'll be really honest, I have zero knowledge about naval. I can play the game mode, I can land my shots fairly well, but I can't say that I have extensive experience with the game mode. But what I can tell you is that I do have some of the OP vessels, such as the Kronstadt, if I'm saying it right, I'm sorry if I'm not, the Scharnhorst, and the Alaska. And I'm aware that there are other possibly better vessels, but I only ever find myself playing these ones and having fun with them during my downtime. And I will add on with this. When I compare the HMS Renown to the other battle cruisers that it likes to fight against, this thing sucks. I mean, the Helena will waste you with its HE rounds. If you guys play, the Helena is a spam of a vessel, and it is annoying at times, right? You see it, you sink it first, and everything else will whittle you down incredibly fast. And in my experience, she is not tanky, not in the slightest. I've been ammo racked far more often than any other vessel I've played around this BR. But I will admit, the guns though, they do pack a solid punch when they hit, assuming I'm not already on fire within the first 5 minutes of the game. But don't get me wrong, she's a really pretty boat, and it definitely has a spot in my collection. But for me, it's more of a showpiece than an actual playable vehicle, and that's more than enough for me to add it to my growing collection of unique vehicles. But there you have it, my thoughts and opinions on all of these summer reward vehicles, minus the tier 1, which was kind of the exception for some obvious reasons. I don't really play that low of BR, so I'm sorry. Now let's talk about the price. From what I'm able to tell, and this is based off my previous experiences with the past summer event reward vehicles, the tank will likely be the cheapest to buy, with the aircraft being the middle, and of course the vessel being the most expensive of the bunch. And the reason for that is simple. It's based off supply and demand. Ground RB, at least to my knowledge, is the most popular game mode in War Thunder, which means that more players will try to offload their vehicle in the marketplace, creating a large supply and demand, with the possibility of it being a lower demand, seeing that everyone's either going to be selling it or keeping it, and that price is going to stick around for a good minute, at least from what I could tell, for the first year. Whereas naval, well, they have fewer players, allowing the vessel to maintain a higher than average price, at least when it's compared to the rest. But that's not always true, so don't take my word and attempt to play stock market by buying and selling these vehicles based off my own opinions. But I will say this, it's always worth to have at least one extra coupon just for safekeeping. But if you're someone who missed all or most of the stars, it might suit you to just outright buy the vehicle at this point, rather than spend the nearly 10,000 golden eagles per set of stars it would take to get these vehicles naturally, although that's if you don't mind not having the unique camo and other goodies the event really offers. But now I leave the rest to you. Feel free to jump into the comment section and let me know what you think about not only the vehicles themselves, but also the event as it currently stands. I do hear a lot of players rant about how grindy and tedious these events are, but there are a vast amount of different opinions on said events. So feel free to share them with me and I'll do my best to add my 2 cents as I seize it. Also, if you happen to buy the golden eagles you need to get the rest of the stars, or all of them for that matter, feel free to use my 3% discount. The link for it is below in the description. It saves you money and I get paid as well. What's not to love? But anyways, I hope you guys did enjoy this talking head video. It was an absolute pleasure to do these, and I look forward to doing more of these in the very near future. And let me know again in the comment section what you guys think about these. I do plan on doing more for pretty much any and all sort of major update and smaller updates too. Well, then again, I always do it for the major update anyways, but for the smaller ones, right? Maybe dev blogs, etc. Let me know what you guys think, and this can be a daily series for you if you'd like it. But I promise to keep things short and sweet, as I like to do with these. But anyways, keep on grinding and don't forget to have fun, and I'll see you in the next video. So as always, I'll see you next time.